Hey everyone, I think about dying a lot. Probably more than the daily recommendation. Anywho, in this video I'm going to explain to you 5 ways to potentially avoid death and live forever. First is to reverse aging. That's right, just like our dear friend Benjamin Button. You see, most people don't actually die from aging. In fact, nobody does. People die from diseases that take over your body because of aging. The simple formula is this: slow aging, prevent diseases, live healthier and longer. If you could reverse aging or halt it entirely, you might be able to prevent diseases forever. Now I want you to meet this cool little jellyfish called Teratopsis dawni. This jellyfish, when damaged, can reverse the aging process and literally rebirth itself. Kind of like if an injured butterfly went back into its cocoon thingy and then came back out a healthy butterfly again. Provided this jellyfish doesn't get eaten, it's effectively immortal. It will never die from the age-related stresses that us unfortunate apes have to suffer. But scientists are well on their way of solving this problem. David Sinclair, who I made a video about way back when, is on the frontier of this exciting endeavor. Using fasting, a supplement called NAD+, and other methods, Sinclair, his team, and heaps of other scientists have demonstrated that you can slow the aging process and in some cases, even reverse it. Sinclair's team even managed to grow back a mouse's optic nerve. Which brings us to the second way of living forever: regeneration. This one's maybe the coolest way to avoid the Grim Reaper. Imagine regrowing limbs like Piccolo. To be fair to us humans, we already do this on a very small scale. When we get a cut on our skin that's not too deep, we do somewhat regenerate. Obviously, as the trauma gets worse, this becomes a lot more difficult. This is because we don't just have to regenerate skin cells, but muscles, bones, blood vessels, and nerves. But yet again, scientists are working on this by using stem cells and other methods that use the body's own regenerative abilities to heal itself. And they have made some progress whereby they can actually regrow specific cells. An example of this is Marine Sergeant Brian Smith, who had his arm severely damaged after being caught in an explosion in Iraq. After losing 1/3 of his biceps, scientists were able to create muscle cells and regrow almost all of his muscle tissue so that he could use his arm the same way that he did before his accident. Some scientists are working on regrowing hearts and other internal organs. The eventual holy grail of regeneration would be to regrow a complete human brain. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. If we get to the stage where with a high degree of certainty we can regrow limbs and other internal organs, we might not need to reverse the aging process. We could just replace our parts as they wither with healthy organic replicas. But there is another way to do this, which brings us to our next stop on the road to immortality: becoming cyborgs. Instead of regrowing healthy biological limbs and organs which can be so easily damaged, what if we replace them with materials that were far more resilient? We already use pacemakers and prosthetics and hearing aids. As these technologies advance and become better and better, why not replace everything? In this situation, we would only need our brain and our nerves. And provided none of them were crushed, our semi-robotic or fully robotic bodies could potentially last forever. Provided, of course, we did the occasional maintenance. You know, it'd be just like taking your car to get a service. Not only would a cyborg help us live forever, but it'd also give us enhanced abilities. We could be faster or stronger. We could potentially have bionic eyes that could see different spectrums of light. Then, of course, we could have supersonic hearing, Bluetooth connection, and internet access. And if your cyborg engineer is Elon Musk, you probably can bet that you're going to be able to fly to outer space and live on Mars. Like I said earlier though, if the brain is crushed, it's lights out. So to avoid this, the 4th way to live forever is mind uploading. Voldemort was quite the futurist when he decided to split his soul into 7 pieces. Of course, he didn't account for a teenager with terrible eyesight to foil his plans, but he was on the right track. Mind uploading is the real world equivalent of making Horcruxes, and it would involve creating a digital replica of your brain and uploading it to the cloud. And yes, if you really want to, you can do it 7 times like you know who. At the moment, scientists have been able to simulate less than a cubic millimeter of rat brain. You know, a measly 30,000 neurons. This took over 10 years of imaging and generated over 2 million gigabytes of data. So it goes without saying that this process is extremely complicated to do with an entire human brain, considering that we have over 85 billion neurons. If this can be successfully done, and that's a big if, you could theoretically live a life free of all the physical dramas that we face as humans. If the device that you're currently running your consciousness on is damaged, you could always just respawn on another device, because you will be connected to the internet or whatever the future's equivalent of that will be. The question remains though, is a copy of your brain with every cell, every neuron, and every synapse still you? Will an atom for atom replica of your brain produce consciousness the way you're experiencing it right now? And if it does, what about if this copy of your brain and your current brain are together at the same time? Which one of them is actually you? Now, unfortunately, as fun as living forever is to imagine, the reality is a bit more depressing. You see, fighting death is a little like Game of Thrones. We're also focused on defeating death in the most obvious and immediate ways that we're all neglecting an extremely big White Walker that is slowly marching towards us. You see, it doesn't matter if we reverse aging, learn how to regenerate, become cyborgs, or can upload our brains to the cloud. In case you weren't aware, the universe is expanding. Literally, space is getting bigger and bigger in all directions, similar to if a balloon was being blown up. If this continues, which as far as we're aware, it will, all galaxies, planets, stars, and heavenly bodies will move so far away from each other that the entire universe will go dark. The temperature of everything will plummet to almost absolute zero. Galaxies will be torn apart and all forms of life will be extinguished. Supermassive black holes will be the final things left, consuming every last crumb of existence until they also dissipate. Every living and non-living thing will be annihilated in what is considered to be the heat death of the universe. I guess the Grim Reaper really does get the last laugh. So the fifth and final, and possibly the most important way for us to live forever, is to prevent the universe from expanding to the point that it becomes a cold, dark graveyard of everything that we've ever known and everything we could have been. Just something to think about. Okay, that was a quick rundown on how to live forever. If you would like to learn more about each specific point, I've left a whole bunch of links in the description so that you can get a far more in-depth understanding. Like and subscribe. I love you all.